You're listening to Redesigning Reality with Dylan Charles and Jeff Anthony.
Oh my God, it's recording, Jeff. Jeff, it's recording. The light is blinking. This is it.
The light is blinking.
We're
on.
This is it. This is Redesigning Reality in the studio. What's up, everybody? I'm Dylan Charles. Thank you for listening and tuning in. I'm with my good bud, Jeff Anthony. Tell him how it's going, Jeff.
It's going awesome. It's going great. It's going fantastic.
Oh, that's good. It's good to hear that, man. That enthusiasm, that excitement. You know, I find that when things aren't going well for me, like if I take a step back and ask myself if I'm excited about things, I'll find that's the number one thing that goes. And if I want things to fall back into place, man, I got to figure out how to get that excitement flowing. Kind of going through that right now, man. What are you up to?
I am in the middle of planning. I'm in this planning and research phase of same kind of thing, jumping off into a new business endeavor with a friend of mine here in Eugene.
Wow, now that is exciting. Why don't you tell us about that? Just like the short two-sentence version, Mr. Jeff.
The short two-sentence version is it's something that I've always had an interest in doing, and somebody finally invited me to do it, and I'm going to run with it.
If you're, let me just, it's a vegan spoiler alert. If you're a vegan out there, you might want to put some earmuffs on.
You might not like it.
You might not like this. It's coming down the pipe. What is it?
It is coming down the pipe. It's actually going in the smoker. Yeah, so it's a food cart. Yeah, and we're gonna sell barbecue, and we are gonna have vegetarian options as well.
Wow.
But vegans beware.
Vegans beware.
So, I love vegans. I'm just saying not a lot of vegan barbecue out there. So
you know, it's interesting though. Like lately, in recent weeks. Perhaps it's because I'm kind of feel still polluted from sitting around for a month with a broken collarbone, eating opioids. But I've been having this calling to like go more vegetarian, you know, like more, you know, plant-based for a while now. Just kind of clean up things for a little bit, you know, not 100%, you know, just feeling that need to like reconnect with the plants. By the way, I'm doing that, man. I'm actually going to go do some iboga here in a couple of weeks. Not too many things are more exciting than that for me personally. The sacred plant iboga. I saw in the headline news an article about iboga just yesterday, talking about how iboga is really effective for some people in dealing with opioid addiction, which is kind of funny, kind of ironic considering that I just spent a month dosed up on opioids.
it is ironic. Irony is a really interesting and funny thing, and it's ironic that you have been eating more vegetarian-based food, because so have I, because I was dealing with a major stomach issue over the last few weeks, and the last thing you want to do is pound a bunch of meat when your stomach's not functioning so well. So, yeah, I was right there with you. I was kind of scaled it back and eating lots of soups and vegetable-type based things. And, yeah, I mean, you know this about me, dude. I'm not I just love feeding people. I love communing around food, and I don't really care what kind of food anybody eats. I love all food, so I don't think there's anything that's right or wrong for anybody.
I had a moment like that over the weekend where I was feeling like I needed to just sort of connect with my family in a way that's sort of, you know, like kind of that I needed to do something for them, right? Like nurture them in some way. And so I spent all day yesterday cooking. I cooked some amazing vegetable quinoa stew, which is freaking outstanding, like the Southwest vegetable quinoa stew, and homemade cornbread, which was off the chain. It was so good, man. Everybody was so happy at dinner time and did the dishes afterwards. It just felt good to be the one, feed the beings.
Well, you know, I tell people all the time, if you nurture your children, they nurture you, right? So you feed them something good to eat, and they're like, hey, Dad, this is good, you know, and it feels nice. So it's a nurturing effect on you. You get a hug, you know, somebody knocks out the dishes for you. It's a very satisfying feeling.
Yep, food. Food is nurture 101.
Absolutely.
So, anyways, here we are. This is Redesigning Reality. We kind of chat, and we kind of talk about whatever's on our minds. And Jeff and I have been talking about some stuff over the last few hours, the last few days, just
weeks.
Yeah, like, what's the
months, maybe even.
Yeah, if I had to put it just as, it's about life shit. You know, it's about shit that comes up in life. You know. Just life
Sometimes
shit.
life takes a shit. Yeah.
You know, and I do want to say that use of the SHIT word was quite deliberate. I went the whole podcast last week without saying a single profane word. The Lord was mighty happy with me. So to add balance to that, I wanted to talk about life shit because sometimes shit happens in life. It does. It happens. Things don't always go the way you want them to go, and I noticed something about myself and about other people that I don't know if it's somehow innately human, some kind of innate human nature kind of thing, but we have this tendency to like bottle things up, you know, and hold on to stuff. You know, it's like there's like a tally going somewhere, and when the tally starts clicking off bad things, we eat those and we hold on to those, and they just build up and build up. You know, and what happens when that happens, Jeff?
There's going to be an eruption at some point. The pressure cooker can only hold so much steam before it's going to
boom. Yeah. When you know, Jeff and I, we share a similar experience living in Costa Rica, and I was in the mountains by the volcanoes. You can see from my front yard, like 5 volcanoes, and for the most part, they're pretty laid back. They don't even really steam or smoke or anything much. And but once the pressure builds up, boom, they go, man. It's quite exciting, and it's very disruptive. And it's a great metaphor because if you let your life shit build up too much to the point that it blows instead of lets off steam in a harmonious or a what's the word, productive way, a healthy way maybe, then when the thing blows, man, it could do some damage.
It can be catastrophic.
The peasants go running. The livestock's dusted with ceniza.
Right.
You know.
Lots of ash for those that don't speak the Espanol.
Ceniza, todo en el aire, mai.
And it does, man. It's not just that. It's all the material. It throws everything up in the air. The rock, the ash.
What's interesting
trees.
About the ash, though, the ash is toxic, right? So if it happens to be raining, when the ash cloud goes over you, it makes this like toxic wet sludge, kills plants and stuff. And
even another great metaphor, it blocks out the sun, so it blocks out your light.
Sun.
And
blocks out the light. Yeah.
And then you're there in the darkness.
Yeah.
Spewing.
Oh, here's another great metaphor. We'll just keep peeling these off, man. We'll reel these out.
We're doing good.
Like it's when it blows, it's going to get all over the people that you love and everything that you love. It affects everyone. Just fucking all over everything.
Which was the whole point of what we were wanting to talk about today. So that's a good way to tie that in. Is how your personal stress and bottled up shit blows, and then it affects everybody around you, especially the ones you love the most.
It certainly can. Yeah. And so some things I was I went jogging the other day, Jeff. And something I do to take care of myself, and the real reason why I jog is because to me, every step seems hard. And so when I go jogging, I'm out there, and the entire time that I'm doing it, I'm having to overcome the entire time. Like every movement, every second or less is like I'm having to overcome the willpower, you know, the desire to quit, which I think is pretty cool. And I think that it helps, but it clears my head. And so I had some moments of clarity when I was running the other day after, you know, being laid out for 6 weeks or so, finally back on my feet. And I realized that you know, when people in your life, when they hold on to this kind of stuff, whether it's you or someone you love, and then it comes out and it blows, literally blows. God, it blows, man. Like, it's hard. Like I want to be non-judgmental about it. I want to be like, you know, It's okay, man. It's part of a process of renewal and healing and continuing to seek and recalibrate to happiness. You know, sometimes things just build up and they have to blow. And so some kind of a situation kind of happened like that to me, and I had the choice of taking it up a notch, you know, and you know, turning that ash cloud and, you know, back onto someone. And I chose to just kind of accept it as a natural thing, a healthy part of being, you know?
Right. You just kind of absorb it. And so, you know, with that, like, you know, everything in life is like that. If you went out and listened to an awesome symphony that's in harmony, it sounds beautiful. But then you go listen to a junior high band, and when they're in discord, it sounds like a train wreck. So, you know, and it's all a process. The guys in the symphony started out as a train wreck, you know, and that's a kind of a great metaphor for situations that we go through in life and for our personal lives. I mean, it takes a long time to get into that flow, to get into that harmonious, everything acting in unison phase of life. And even when you're there, man, all of a sudden you could be rolling around on a jiu-jitsu mat and break a collarbone and kind of throw a big old heap of discord in there. So, and it's funny because you guys, the hunt, like over here, Dylan Charles and the gang are all breaking bones left and right now.
It's true, man. It's happened. The 6-year-old broke a leg, so we got a 6-year-old in a full leg cast. Dad's recovering from the broken collarbone, but man, yeah, when I broke the collarbone, I told myself, I'm done with jiu-jitsu. That's crazy stuff. I'm done, dude. I'm moving back to Tai Chi, man. I'm going to do Tai Chi for the rest of my days. And I can't tell you, man, I went to a seminar, a jiu-jitsu seminar over the weekend, and I couldn't participate, but I got to watch, and all my teammates were there, and watched them learn for hours, watch them roll. And like we talked about before once on another show, like when you observe, when you stop participating and you just observe, you see things that you don't pick up on when you're participating. I saw all kind of interesting stuff, and it really made me want to get back in the game. And so now I'm like, come on, let's get back in the game. But it's kind of where I'm at today, man. Like I said, like some things were transpiring over the last few days, weeks, and it just really made me think about this tendency that people have to hold on to things and also to maybe not recognize when it's time, or maybe to not give themselves credit for, you know, like to not let themselves be okay with asking for help. You know, like asking for help is it's part of life, man. You know,
it's one of the hardest things to get over too. It's one of the hardest things for us humans to do. We try to be so resilient. We try to be so
self-contained,
and proud
controlled,
and strong. Yep. And I can tell you from my personal experience of dealing with, you know, muscle wasting disease and having a wheelchair and all these things, man, like it's tough, man. It's tough to ask for help, but man, you know what you discover real quick? Life gets a whole lot easier when you get over yourself and you just receive the help.
Receiving is so hard, dude. I have a hard time with that. Oh my God, man. Everybody I know has such a hard time receiving. Dude, I have a cool story about that, man. Because, you know, like, I like talking about plant medicines, man. I love that stuff. And I've spent a lot of time in ceremony with ayahuasca. I've spent a lot of time in ceremony with iboga. And I've spent time with both of those medicines on what we would say is like on both sides of the fire, you know, as a participant and as a, you know, facilitator, as someone who's there to help other people experience the journey and make it through the night. And there's a good friend of mine. He was 17 at the time, and of his first experience, he was a typical 17-year-old, California, really well-to-do parents, but got into a lot of trouble, was dealing with lots of trouble with the law. Was really involved in drugs and hanging out with the wrong people, and a good friend of his had just gotten murdered in a drug-related crime and stuff. And this is all stuff, kind of the similar stuff that I went through when I was his age, so I can relate. And so his parents wanted to take him out of the environment. They brought him down to the jungle to drink ayahuasca. And the first ceremony that he had, I was right next to him all night in the hammock, and it was harrowing for the dude, man. I mean, it was. I've written about the journey on my blog, Waking Times, but the relevant point here is that towards the end of the night, he literally falls out of his hammock. He's a mess. He falls out of his hammock, stomach, can't do it. And so I hear this and pick up on this, and so I get up to help him. I'm like, yo, man, Dano, bud, what's up, man? You okay? And he's shuffling around. He's like, no, dude, I'm fine. I don't know. You can't speak. And I'm like, yo, man, I'm here, man. And finally just busts out. He goes, do you have a flashlight? I was like, yeah, man, I got a flashlight. Whoop! Had one in my hand, handed it right to him. And he turned the flashlight on, and his whole world changed, right? Like, there he is in the dark, falling out of his hammock, uncontrollable. And the light comes on, and he's like, oh, God, thank you. And all he needed to do was go pee, man. So he just took off to go pee. So the next morning, man, I'm talking to him. And he's like, man, that moment, man, I can't tell you how much I really appreciate you being there for me. I was like, what are you talking about, dude? He's like, you were right there, Johnny, on the spot with the flashlight when I needed you. I was like, yeah, it's what I do, man. He was like, no, it's a big deal. And I was like, what's up? And he was like, I've been so afraid to ask for help, man. My whole, for the last few years, I've been way in over my head with everything I've been in, man. It's been just fucking way in over my head, man. I got no business being involved in the stuff I'm involved in. And I've needed help. And part of what I was going through in the visionary part of the journey was that realization that I can't do this on my own, that I need help. And then I fell out of my hammock and I got to pee, and I was just about to pee on myself. And you showed up there. I didn't ask for it. And you were standing right there. And I was like, the medicine was like, do it, ask for help. So he asked for help, and it was like the hugest, biggest deal, and a
flashlight. Yeah.
But it was no big deal for me, man. It's no big deal for the people you ask for. It seems like it's the end of the world, or it seems like insurmountable mountain pass, or the deepest valley, or the greatest chasm. It's not, dude. Ask for help.
It's right there, and people are, and you can speak to this after I finish this thought, but I know in my personal life, when people contact me through the show and they're like, man, I just need help, I just need to talk to somebody. Sometimes it's crazy to me that these people are paying me to make me feel so good, right? Because nothing feels better. There's nothing more rewarding, I believe, in my personal experience, than helping others. And there's no gift that you can receive. There's nothing that you can receive that is as overwhelmingly powerful as giving to someone else, especially if it's something that is physical, right? It's not a possession type of thing. It's just help. It's love, right? Is basically what it is. Yeah. And love takes many forms. Sometimes love is somebody helped me throwing my wheelchair in the back of the car because I can't do it myself, or helping me sit up out of a chair because I can't get up out of it because it's too low, or whatever. And as the person that's receiving that help and having to ask, you think that it's taxing or it's tiring, or people are going to feel like, oh man, this guy always needs something from me. But it feels good. It's nice to help others.
I've seen that, man. This is so, like, this whole thing is so relevant to plant medicines, man. I've seen this so many times with people. Like, it's just, especially with like something like with iboga, like with ayahuasca, like you can typically, like, if you need to get up and go, puke in the jungle, or like take a smoke break or go pee or something, like you could kind of pretty much get up. You might feel a little drunk, but like with iboga, man, it's deep, because when people are journeying, they can't, like, their body turns into like a baby's body again. You can't, like, you just can't get yourself around, and you have to ask for help. You have to depend on other people, and so many people are not used to asking for help, And so you get them in these situations where they're so confident, they're so used to taking it all on themselves and absorbing it all, like, I can do all of this by myself. It's like, and you're like, no, man, you can't walk. And they're like, I got this, I can get up and walk. And you're like, no,
clunk.
You're like, no, man, you cannot walk. So I'm going to hold you by the hand. I'm going to grab you by the shoulder. I'm going to loop your arm around my shoulder. We're going together, but you could tell me, and they'll be so like in such a deep visionary hallucinogenic space that they think they're doing it on all themselves, like they'll actually think that they're walking by themselves, but they're not, but it's still, it's that position of being in, like they, for the first time, realize like they have no there's somebody there that is going to help them. Like they are dependent on somebody else, and it's okay. It's good. It's helpful. It's healthy. You know.
Well, I mean, it's how we all started life. We were all dependent. None of us would be here if someone didn't take care of us and feed us and clean us up and put us on the right path and the right direction to have a life, you know, and train us up on how to use the bathroom and all of those things. So, and it's funny how I think it's pride, you know, pride has a lot to do with it.
Right.
Ego has a lot to do with it. And, you know, you have to get over that stuff. So many people ride their pride straight into failure and defeat, you know, because they're afraid to let something go or to admit I need help to get myself out of this. And it's great. I know this story of the kid you're talking about. I know how he turned his life around, and it's great that he did. Yeah. And it's great that he was able to admit to you first, you know, like, dude, I've been way in over my head. I've been doing shit that I got no business doing, and
right.
A simple flashlight was
the right
catalyst
time
to show him that. Well, it was the catalyst to show him that, right? And can you imagine the situations that dangerous, gun-filled, high-pressure, stupid, ridiculous, nervous, drug-dealing situations that kid had been in? Yeah. And you know, you just try to play it cool and ride your ego through that kind of mess. And
been there, man.
Lots of people do it. Yeah.
I've been there.
I might have been there once or twice myself.
Yeah, wasted youth. Oh man, that's crazy though. But
yeah,
not wasted. Wrong word.
yeah. Maybe
school of hard knocks, man.
Memorable experiences to draw on
and
share with others so that you can relate to them and help them out of their. Because that's the other thing too, right? Like sometimes people judge themselves based on the mistakes, the perceived mistakes that they made in their past. But it's those mistakes that become the wisdom that allow you to help others because you can relate to their situation because you've been there.
Yeah, I read something the other day that a friend of mine sent me, and it was talking about how we tend to judge ourselves on the failures that we've had. And that like the whole color of our world would change instantly if we were able to just flip that script and judge ourselves in the now from moment to moment on the successes that we've had, you know, the things that have gone right for us. It's such a tendency to do that. But back to the help thing, you know, like being with people in ceremony and you know, being in a quiet, still ceremony in the middle of the night, everybody's deep in a journey, and hearing somebody on the other side of the maloka, they're like, help. help me. Like somebody, think about this, man. Somebody's very, very, very immersed in their own universe, like totally in their own universe. You know, they've consumed this magic Amazonian potion, sat in a hammock, the lights are out, totally silent, and they're all by themselves, and they don't want to disturb what's going on with everybody, so they're totally in themselves. And the medicine has opened up that part of themselves to where they could really see what's going on inside themselves, and that can be like overwhelming. I mean, it can drive people crazy. I've seen it. It's driven me crazy before. But like
you're extremely vulnerable at that point, you know.
Extremely, like to themselves, it's quite a remarkable thing. But like to have like very few people still, even in that environment, like when they know they need help, they just need somebody to come over and sit with them. They need somebody to come over and just like tell them to calm down, or somebody just to know that somebody's paying attention to them, right? Mm-hmm. But to have that like the strength and courage to disrupt the whole thing, to say help. And you know, we encourage people, if you need help, just say help. We'll come help you. You know, like it's okay. But still, a lot of people hold that in and won't allow themselves to even say help. But when you do say help, like it changes the experience. It totally completely flips the script. You know, because then you're able to actually go into receivership, you know, that mode that we're not good at. We're not good at receiving, man. I think we're just not.
We aren't. And so I'm going to share a story about ayahuasca that I've never shared before, that people may enjoy hearing. And So you're this guy and you've shattered your pelvis and you have a muscle wasting disease and you can barely get around on a walker and you're doing ayahuasca with a bunch of people that you don't really know. And you're laying on a couch because they're like, hey, well, you can't even get up off the floor. So we're going to throw you on this couch over here. How's that? And you're trying to hold it all together. I remember I was trying to hold it all together, and I was like, I don't need a couch. And then as soon as the medicine starts to hit you, I'm like, man, that couch looks real good.
Real good.
And, you know, they slid me over a nice giant trough to vomit in and all this good stuff so that I wouldn't have to move around. And I had been fasting and all these things. And then the thing you don't count on is, hey, wait a minute. I really got to pee because we're like 5 hours into this thing. And it was the same thing you're talking about. I remember I just literally held it in and was like, I got to just get through this. I can't walk. There's no way I could walk right now. And then all of a sudden my mind was like, yo, that dude right there, that facilitator dude, he's like 6'5", like 250. He's a gigantic refrigerator of a beast. This other dude is like 6'4". These dudes are big like you. They could get you outside. So I finally was like, yo, I got to pee. I can't hold it anymore. And it was funny because the facilitator was like, I felt some tension in the air. I was wondering where the tension was coming from. I was like, it was coming from my bladder. And everybody started laughing, you know, and literally there was 5 of us and everybody went outside. Everybody's like, we're all going. All 5 of us went outside. And when we got outside, what do you think happened, dude? We get out there and we didn't realize that it was a full moon and it looked like a spotlight, just boom, you know, because your eyes are dilated and we heard all these sounds. It was about 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, right, in Costa Rica, in the middle of the jungle. It became this awesome experience that none of us would have had if I hadn't just said, yo, I got to pee and I can't even walk right now. So
interesting though what you said, man, that word tension, right? Like, because I was talking before about like, okay, something's going on in life. It's, you know, it's common to hold on to it and build, man. But what it's building is building tension, you know? And so like, you know, with something I just went through here this last week, like I had seen it coming for weeks, man. Just like the seismologist and the geologists get out there and they're checking to see, you know, which one of their meters are moving by how far to determine where the stress is underground below this volcano, Iratsu or Poas or whatever it is, and Turrialba. And, you know, they're like, well, I think Turrialba is going to blow soon because we sense tension all around the base of this, you know, this part of the base. We can tell there's tension building. That's pretty interesting because in the medicine zone, for people that are tuned in, they're hypersensitive to things like tension, to things like positive and negative emotion, to things like telepathy, and it's something that defies, you know, scientific explanation and all that, and I think that's why that's really what a shaman is. It's a person who, you know, is able to operate in those frequencies and pick up and translate the information from those frequencies into usable stuff for people, right?
Absolutely. And
so if your shaman or your facilitator or whatever is sensing that tension, it's fascinating that he can tell you that, you know, dude, like just laying there needing to pee in ceremony, it can be earth shattering. It could be
absolutely
the most dramatic experience of your life because you don't know what to do and you're stuck and everything is magnified and amplified and exacerbated and you know, because of this chemical, these jungle chemicals that are coursing through your veins, you know, like everything is just, the intensity is so astronomically high, but inside of you, you know. So to the uninitiated, they would walk by and be like, wow, that guy's super chilled out and peaceful. But to the shaman, to the facilitator, to somebody that's had the experience there, they pick up on that, man. It's fascinating. For sure. Fascinating stuff, man.
It is fascinating, and it was, dude. I mean, you know, these things build just like the pressure of the volcano. It was like, I may have to pee later, and then it was like, I gotta pee now, and then it was like, yeah, you're gonna pee your pants, dude, if you don't just say something. So, but I mean, I was at that, I gotta pee now for a good hour, you know, and And it is funny because your body releases a frequency, right? The vibration, and that goes out, and people that are initiated and are sensitive and kind of walk that shaman path are able to pick up on those things. And I think we all are. I think we're all kind of able to pick on that within our families, right? You know, when your wife is feeling the pressure build and there's this funny thing about to happen. And I'm such a moron. Like every month when the PMS starts kicking in, I'm like, what did I do? Like, I thought everything was cool. And what's going on with Erin right now? And then all of a sudden, I try to wake her up, you know, a few days later, and she's like, I'm so tired today. And I just don't feel so good. I've got really bad cramps. And I'm like, you freaking moron. You would think after 17 years, you'd be like, oh, it's PMS. You're fine. Just move on. But, you know, we pick up on that stuff. You know, even my freaking I keep saying 9-year-old, just turned 10. He's always, you know, when the PMS hits, he's like, what's the matter with mommy? Like first day. And I'm like, oh, he's good. And when he says it, I'm like, okay, I think I know what's going on too. Thank you, little man. So, yeah, I mean, we all pick up on it, and we feel it more with the people that we're closer to, because we have a feeling for what their vibration is and what their moods are. And those vibes, you know, flow through us, and they trigger us in positive and negative ways.
Yeah, and it's, you know, my experience was that when you feel it coming, you feel the tension coming, you know it's there. You try to let it off easily, you know, by acknowledging and be like, hey, something's going on here. But no, may not get released at that time, and it builds and builds and builds until boom, it's gone. But what happens? Like, what happens when you hold on to stuff and you let stuff build to that point and degree? Well, I mean, it ends up coming out violently, you know. It ends up coming out violently, and you end up saying things to people that you really love, and whether you mean them or not, there's still reflections of you that are in there that come out in the worst possible way, and then when they do much more damage than they could have done if they were, you know, just addressed, acknowledged, you know, put in their rightful place along the way.
Right. So, it's just like a volcano. You have to deal with the fallout, literally. There's the fallout after the volcano erupts for weeks. You know, you have this gray ash just dumping on your car, dumping in your yard, and that's where you're at when things don't, you know, when the pressure doesn't get released out of that valve in a harmonious, fluid way, it blows, man. And, you know, anybody that's ever had a pressure cooker and cooked a pot of beans and the lid wasn't on good, man, there's beans all over the ceiling, on top of the cabinets. I mean, it's everywhere. And
only a guy that lived in Costa Rica for 10 years would come up with that analogy.
I know. I've seen it happen.
we never,
and you're like, what was that?
Yeah, we never got into rice and beans until we moved to Costa Rica. Now it's like that's staple food.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so good.
Rice and beans over the Aaron was like, we need some beans. We got to cook some beans. So
got to, man.
Pretty funny. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's interesting. Like, I remember a few times in ceremony, like in my earlier days, like when I was, you know, dealing with my own, when I was going through my own personal process, like there's a phase of it, like when you first start doing this stuff, if it calls you, if it resonates with you and you feel called to come back, which not everybody does. You know, some people are never called to go at all. And some people go and do it once, you know, try ayahuasca once and are never called to go back. And other people like me, it's just keep getting called back. You don't really have a choice. Like, you're not happy unless you just, you know, answer the call. And, you know, the first few years of it was dealing with the personal processing of, you know, figuring out who I am, what I wanted, you know, and coming to terms with all the things that I'd experienced and then it happened to me and in life that had led me to where I'm at and, you know, to get me on that path to where I could think more clearly about what's coming up in the future without being held down by the past, you know, and in that, I remember a couple of really powerful ceremonies where, man, you could feel that tension building in myself. I could feel years and years and years of sorrow, pain, and disappointment, and dissatisfaction, and unhappiness, and dis-ease, and depression and anxiety. Like years and years of it. You could feel it coming up to the surface. And even in those moments, man, you try so hard to repress it, man. You try so hard to keep the fucking lid on that pressure cooker, man. Keep it down. keep it down. And I was instructed that I was in a safe space, like the ceremonial space was specifically for that. It was specifically to provide for the recognition of all that and the release of all that and the purge of all that. And so it became like, it becomes like a very heroic undertaking, like the hero's journey. Like, okay, I am going to look at all this stuff and I'm going to accept the responsibility of letting it go. And that involved asking for help from the shaman, the facilitators, when I couldn't handle it, when I was coming to pieces mentally, psychologically, and I felt physically coming to pieces, and having them help me. And, like, in ceremony, shamans have toolkits to work with people. They sing songs, they use incense. Different people do different things like different kinds of massage or acupressure massage, or even Reiki energy healing. There's tools that different people use that help them to transmute negative or tense energy in a person and help them to release it. And so you could take advantage of all that in ceremony, but I remember a few times it was just really deep for me, to where it when it all came up to the surface, it was just so hard to control it. Finally you can't control it anymore, and it comes out in tears or screaming or yelling or fucking getting up and be like, ah! I mean, some people get up and physically freak out and run off into the jungle. Like they can't take it, like holding all that stuff in. The most common thing is the purge, man. It comes out your butt or it comes out your mouth. You puke, and this stuff, this baggage, man, this funky mojo and juju and hoo-hoo and all this stuff coming out of you, man. And that's why I feel like the medicine is so, like, this kind of medicine, these shamanic medicines are so powerful, because it's a big part of it is the purge, man, the ability to release years of repressed stuff that doesn't even need to be repressed, man. And so here it is now. Everyday life, you don't drink that stuff every day, but shit gets repressed, man. Things are happening that don't always go the way you want them to happen, So what do you do, Jeff? How do you maintain that homeostasis to where you're not building up so that you blow all over the people that you love? You're not holding on to all this stuff, so that you're making sure that you're happy and making sure that you don't go over the deep end and make everybody that you love unhappy,
How did I know that this is where the conversation was leading to? I felt it. I felt the buildup. I felt the pressure that I have to come up with an answer,
Jeff,
of how do we maintain. We can't do ayahuasca every day. And I'm one of those people you were talking about. I was an initiate. I was called to do ayahuasca, and I did my ceremony, and then ayahuasca kind of was done with me. I haven't felt the call to do it again. But I learned so much in that experience and many of the other experiences that I participated in, that they have given me this tool set that I have now, that I utilize in my daily life when things build up. And one of the things that I do is I have this technique that I call forgiveness in the moment, and it helps a lot with not letting things build up and letting that tension. And I'm doing it for me, right? So when my wife, my children, someone in my community says something or does something that I find offensive, I realize, first of all, I found this offensive. There's something inside of me that's triggered, right? It's not even necessarily that what they did or said is offensive. It's just that I chose to be offended by it. And so I take note of that. And then I ask myself a few questions. Why am I offended by that? Why am I sensitive in this area? And what can I do to improve that thing? And the number one thing that comes up every time when I ask those three questions is forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the tension. Forgive yourself for the judgment. Forgive yourself for being tender in that area. And then the way you do that is by forgiving the person and realizing that their intention was not to harm. It was just a question. It was a joke. People joke. They pick at your family. You know that. We pick at each other. We know each other's little hot spots and buttons. And man, nothing thrills a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old more than to poke at their dad, you know? And sometimes I'm able to laugh about it. And sometimes when my mojo's down and my frequency is frazzled, I'm like, man, that's not funny right now, you know, but I'm not going to make an international incident out of a 10-year-old messing with me. They're just trying to have fun and they're just kids. And I've had plenty of moments where I realize I'm about to lose it right now and get mad at a kid for being a kid. So I'm going to, what am I? And I do that again. I ask myself, why am I being sensitive about this? What's being triggered in me right now? And how can I make this better? And it's always about forgiveness. And so I guess to finish the answer to your question, it's self-care. It's the stuff we've talked about many times. It's you got to take care of you before you can take care of anybody else. And when you love you, then you can love others. And when you like what you're doing, you can like the things that other people do. And it all becomes this process of forgiveness, self-care, and it happens moment to moment. Like you were saying earlier, I liked what you said about the thing where we're constantly criticizing ourselves. We should every moment be like, hey man, that just went good. I just dropped the kids off. That went well.
Well done, bro.
And realizing that, like over the weekend, my water pump blew up in my car. I had no car. It was spewing fluid all over my garage. And just realizing, hey, man, my car started up. It's not slinging antifreeze everywhere. That's good. We're a go on this, you know, and on. All these awesome moments happen throughout the day, but we tend to latch onto and hold on to these little negative energy frequencies that kind of, move in and out of our lives, and we're kind of I guess asleep or unconscious to the fact that there's all kinds of positive vibes out there and beautiful things happening every second of our day.
Right.
But we've become so accustomed to those that we only judge the bad. And if we could just, like I said, like, dude, if you said, like, hey man, this is going good. This is, we're doing a good show here. We're doing a good thing here. We're moving, we're progressing. So, I agree with you. I think that's the way we should start evaluating our lives more in a positive light instead of a negative light.
So it's so much easier said than done. I mean,
man, it takes work, brother. Like when I was saying that I do these things, it takes work. It took a long time for me to realize that I have triggers and I have these little hot button issues that get me fired up. And it's not anybody's fault. It's me. And it takes consistency, just like we're, with this show, we have to show up every week. We have to record the show, edit the show, post the show. We got to be consistent, and
it's funny you say that because we are actually a couple days behind here now. But you'll see that, folks. We'll get this one out to you. This is number 26 or something. I don't even know, man. But
broken legs and stomach viruses.
Broken legs, collarbones.
And we had a week last week, brother.
I know. I even busted my computer, man. My Mac, dude, just
shattered screen.
Broke the screen. Yeah. So things be broken.
The dream is still alive. The dream is not shattered. So here we are, and we persevere, we prevail, and we move forward.
Yeah. I'm dealing with that too, man. I could easily think of some things I need help with, man, and I don't. I have like a group of. I have a small handful. I probably count them on one hand, maybe 6 fingers, of people that I can rely on to. It's probably actually more than a lot of people, but people that I call for deep stuff. Like you're on the list. Who do you call? Like who's in your self-sanity toolbox? Who do you call on when you're like, all right, man, life is just beating me up, man. Things are just breaking left and right. I can't figure out why, and I don't expect them to be this way for long, and I don't want them to be this way for long. But in the moment, man, I can't stop thinking about, like, I can't stop feeling that that's the energy of the moment is regressive, broken, things are moving backwards. That's what I'm dealing with now, kind of in a lot of ways too, man. And I'm forced to just, be honest, power through, man, and recognize when I need help, when I need to call on people, when I need to call on my tribe, to be like, yo, tribe, what's happening.
Need a relief pitcher. You got to go to the bullpen. Who's in the bullpen?
Got to go to the
starting
bullpen.
pitchers giving up home runs. We got to get somebody out of the bullpen to relieve this guy. So yeah, I mean, you're in my bullpen for sure, brother. And you know, we do that a lot with each other. And I have a short list, just like you do, of people that
confidants.
I reach out to for help. And the most amazing thing, and I know you feel this way too, is we have our spouses, and I know we both rely on them and reach out to them and use them and utilize them for their knowledge and wisdom and also the relationship part, because they know when we're funky, and we know when they're funky, and luckily we both have the kind of relationships where we communicate openly enough with our spouses that we can we can squash these issues, whenever they come up, and we can bring them up and talk about them and move forward. Sometimes there may be a little bean juice on the wall, but
bean juice on the wall,
everybody spews a little bit.
One of my teachers, one of my medicine teachers, he has this song that he sings, and in the song he sings about how may all your funky ghosts and demons, be gone, banished. And so it's just interesting. And the other part is about all your baggage, all your funky baggage, your funky ghosts and demons be gone. And it's pretty funny because that's really what it is, man. You get all this. You can't even. It's not like a physical thing, man. You just get weighed down by crap. Did we say that at the beginning? Life shit. I think it sounds familiar, man. Like we're coming full circle. We somehow made it back to life shit. Yes,
there it is.
That's awesome, Jeff. That's really nice that we managed to come full circle again. I think pretty much in every episode, like around the 50-minute mark, we somehow comment on something that we commented on in the 10-minute mark. But I mean, literally, you're dealing with like just metaphysical stuff. You're like ideas and thoughts and emotions, and just veins of energy that have moved through your being at some point, and they've left their impression, they've left their mark, and it's not like it's not unlike. Oh, let's go back to the volcano metaphor, man. Like you've been up to Volcano Arenal in Costa Rica, right? Like there was an eruption in 1968 that blew off the side of the mountain, and so like half the mountain is like volcanic rock. I mean, the veins, the trails of this energy are still there. Like they're fixed there indefinitely, permanently, perhaps. Until another eruption or something. Some kind of cleansing experience comes and cleans it up, But yeah, things leave their mark, their indelible mark on your psyche, on your spirit. And man, it's not easy always to keep that stuff from weighing you down and holding you back. And if you don't manage it well, man, like you can explode onto the people that you love most, man, and you just end up cutting them to pieces for no reason, man.
Well, you got to ask yourself what you're carrying around, right? So what am I holding on to? Speaking, using the analogy of the baggage.
People don't know, though, man. I don't think people like generally have that level of mindfulness, that level of self-awareness, for the most part. I mean, it takes a while to develop that, it takes intention to develop that. But, how many people do you know have a great way to experience this is to go have like Thanksgiving dinner with your family. Right? Yeah, for real, because like, I'm at a certain point in my life and consciousness where I tend to like want to be around people who are, that resonate, that understand me at this level and whatever. I'm not
right.
But I'm saying this because I have the old me that hung out with a different group of people, and I know that when I go hang out with those people, I know what I'm going to get. It's going to be a different vibration, right? It's going to be a different frequency. And so when you go hang out with your family, you're not really around the people that you choose to be around because you like them, because they're more like you. You're around people that are just random, not so random, but people of all different levels.
Genetically yes.
And so
we're now getting into the genealogy portion of the show, and I mean, I'm with you, brother. That's where your multiple personality disorders start rearing their ugly faces. Like, oh yeah, hey, I remember this. This old Jeff over here, and yeah, all of a sudden you become Jeffrey or Jeffrey Paul because you're with your mom, and so you get the first and middle name when there's disapproval in their voice. And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. Wouldn't it be lovely if we all were genetically involved in relationships that would be people that we would be friends with by choice? And I know that there are a lot of people in the world, I've met them, that their best friends are their parents and they get along great.
Right.
Like peas and carrots. And then, there's other people that have relationships with their parents that are completely, dude, you want to talk about volcanic devastation. They don't speak. They don't see each other. They don't want anything to do with each other on any level whatsoever. And then there's the thing that we're talking about. There's still fire in the belly. There's still a little rumble. Maybe a little ash gets spewed and some rocks tumble down the caldera every now and then, but everybody's still going to visit it because it's exciting to see, right? So
it's the show, greatest show on earth.
Yeah, but that's all growth too, right? And the awesome part about it is the thing that I see now, and the thing that I know you see as well. When you become one of those people that's the initiated or woke AF, as they say,
that's the new thing.
He
woke AF.
Woke AF, man. But the thing is, it becomes this funny thing where it's cool, but it's sad because you start to see other people's baggage. You start to see the things that other people that you care about are holding on to and carrying around. Yeah. And you just want to help them put that down. But it has to be their path. It has to be their decision, think about it like this. We've all jumped on a plane. We're going somewhere, and you have that decision, that choice to make before you go to the airport.
Right.
Am I going to bring this baggage with me and have to lug this shit around and check in bags and go to the turnstile and wait? Or am I just going to take my carry-on, dude, and I'm going to streamline this shit?
It's
going to be so smooth.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. I mean, that's a metaphor for life, Are you going to drag your baggage around with you and carry that every day? Or are you just going to put it in a little backpack and something that's manageable and easy to carry around?
Whatever doesn't fit in there, you just fuck it.
Dump it.
Yeah,
most of the stuff you put in there are good stuff too. Like, man, I might need a drink of water. I'm going to throw a bottle of water in there, maybe an apple, fuel. Things that are going to get you through the day instead of drag you down during the day, right? Like,
that's crazy, man.
You really need 4 pairs of shoes. You're only going to be gone for a week,
Yeah, man, hearing you say it like that, man, it really takes me back to some of my first medicine experiences with ayahuasca, because it was like literally journeying inside my own body and seeing like all of these memories and experiences that were just still there, clinging on for dear life, like holding on to the tissues and cells in my body. Somehow that could become like metaphysically like attached to me. Didn't make sense in any kind of physical way. There's no scientific explanation for it, but there it all is. I could see it. I'm in this space. I drank this gnarly tasting potion, and now I can see all this, baggage that I've got toting around with me. Mm-hmm. I wrote an article about that recently for my blog, wakingtimes.com. But talking about how, scientists are really starting to explore, how the possibilities of ayahuasca and depression. And so they're doing things like they're putting, those big EKG helmets on people's heads,
right.
56 nodes of, brainwave reading. So they have people go into ceremonies and they have them drink brew. They get all their brain scans and everything first to find out baseline levels and this and that. And then they go to ceremonies and they, during their, while they're on the drug, or, an hour after the ceremony, and they, doing all these comparisons of the data, right? And, what is the brain actually doing? Why do these people feel less depressed immediately after drinking this stuff than they've felt for the last 10 years? You get people with severe depression. Why is it all of a sudden in an hour they feel like relief from depression, which they haven't had in perhaps decades in some cases? And they want the answer to be that, this chemical stimulates this part of the brain, which lights up this part of the brain, which creates more activity in this frontal lobe or this, neocortex, and which opens up the communication between the two hemispheres and allows for the more rapid induction of dopamine, and and all this kind of stuff, man. And the reality is that it's so much more simple and beautiful and poetic than that. It's just that you opened up to see like what's really going on in your emotional innards, your emotional insides, and you get to take a look at that, and then not only take a look at it, but you get to look at it in such a way where you were perhaps even forced to get rid of some of that. You might have been able to choose to go puke some of this stuff out. But back to my first experiences, it was like I could see all this stuff, and whenever I would look really long and hard at it, my digestive system would kick in, and you have no choice but to go puke your brains out. And you just know, man. You just feel it. You just know. Once it comes out that something deep that had been holding on to the inside of you is that that can really best be described as baggage, funky juju.
That's that stinky old pair of flip-flops you had to put in your bag.
Flip-flops, man. Whatever it is, man, these stupid old stories you've been telling yourself, man, and this, whatever it is. And, knowing that stuff came out in a very physical way because you got to actually see it come out. You got to feel it come out. So that satisfies our materialistic nature, right? That satisfies our need to be impressed by empirical data, right? I just puked a bunch of crap out. I know that stuff wasn't good, so there's your data, Mr. Scientist.
Well, and then when you were talking about the electrodes and the nodes and all the freaking brain, that they need one for your heart, because that's what it's about. It's about opening your heart. That's why people don't feel that's why people feel the depression lift. Right. That's why they feel completely different, because they had a heart-opening experience. Yeah. And they realize that they are lovable, and that they are, what does lovable mean? It means you are worthy of love. But that begins with you, right? They did something for themselves. Yeah. They loved themselves enough to say yes to the call and to try something in order to change their life. And they opened their heart. And by doing that, they were able to drop the baggage, because every time you open your heart a little bit more and a little bit more, you're letting more in, right? So it's like, if something's going to go in, something's got to come out. And the things that go out is the negativity, the darkness, the blackness, the held on to baggage, like we were saying, the dirty pair of stank flip-flops that you just thought you had to have for that trip, but you didn't need them really. So and we've done that too, right? I know everybody listening to the show has gone on a trip, right? You go on a trip, you bring your baggage. You're on a vacation with your kids. You're in Costa Rica. You're in Hawaii. You're in wherever, Seattle. And you have a finite, limited amount of baggage you could bring. You filled up all your baggage. And now you bought cool new shit that you want to bring home. And you got to figure out, well, maybe I could pitch these old flip-flops. Maybe I could donate this raggedy board shorts that I thought I wanted to wear so that I can get this other cool stuff in my bag that I want to take with me. And that's what you're doing with these ceremonies. That's what you're doing. And that's kind of what we're talking about today is clearing out, right? Sometimes you got to clear out that space, and you're going to have that eruption. You're going to have that kind of overflow so that you can be like, well, now that I see it all splattered all over the walls, I realize that's a bunch of garbage. I don't
all over
that.
The person that I love most in the world.
Right. Yeah. And then you get a nice wet rag, and you wipe their face off, and you clean them up, and we move forward. And hopefully the person that you just did that to is forgiving, and
I'm laughing.
Don't hold on to the baggage.
I'm laughing. I'm going to tell a grody story here just for fun, but
oh goodness.
Ceremony.
Please do.
Ceremony. I'm in ceremony. I'm doing my thing. I'm helping out, and I hear this guy, help. And then it goes from help to help, like really fast. Okay. So I go over to do my thing, man, and walk quietly through the ceremonial hall full of hammocks is the way we do it, and find my good friend. He's now a really good friend of mine, and he's on. He somehow found his way out of his hammock and was stumbled to the edge of the Maloka, kind of where the jungle starts, and was on all fours, looked blind, like he was on the ground looking for his glasses. And I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? What do we need? And he's like, I need some help. Okay, so I sat with him and I helped him. And he'd crapped his pants. And so
Oh, jeez, dude.
and so it happens,
when
man.
I said tell the story, I didn't know where we were going with this.
It happens, but that's the thing, though, man. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's very much like a visceral, just real. Like that's about as it gets. Think about that for a grown man. Like, he's finally like he's like, oh man, I'm having troubles with this, and that. I'm like, what's up, man? What's up? And finally, he just has to admit, he's like, man, I crapped my pants, and it does happen. It's crazy, but it does happen, and so. Yeah, I mean, my job then at that point is to help him move through that experience, you know, and so
which is literally moving your pants off of your legs and feet and ankles. And
I wasn't gonna go into those great details. I took more of a leadership role and you know, telling him what to do. Okay, this is what you need to do right now. Okay, this is the next thing that you need to do.
That
okay.
You're going to do by yourself.
You are going. Yeah, it's more of a leadership role at that point. But you know, like less of a hands-on role. But the point is that, man, like this guy and I are really, really good friends, man. We're really good friends now. You know, and like you wouldn't think that you'd make such a good friend by asking for help because you crapped your pants. I mean, that's far out, right? I mean, that's far out. But like you said at the beginning, man, like for me, like the joy that I was able to get out of it and being able to be there for this person, this really tender, special, like, you know, really vulnerable moment. That's what I was there for. I was there to help people on that level, and he needed that. And you know, it's not something that everybody goes through, thank God. But it was really, really difficult for him to reach up and say, yo, man, this is what's happened, and I don't know what to do about it, and I need some help. And, you know, man, and I think that what holds people back from asking for help is the false presumption or assumption that, you know, other people aren't going to want to help you out with your problems. Other people aren't going to, you know, want to be burdened by your shit, you know, by your problems, right? And the reality is like almost always the exact opposite of that. I mean, I think people are their best when they're helping other people, and whether people know that about themselves or not, they still, once given the opportunity to help other people, really, really rise to the occasion. I mean, we've talked about this in some of the early episodes of Redesigning Reality. You know, we talked about how people in Houston, when Houston got flooded with the recent hurricane, you know, people of all walks of life really rose to the occasion to help out their neighbors and members of their community, because there was finally this opportunity to actually help people. And so you may be going through things and holding on to tension, and things may be building, and you have the opportunity to ask for help, but you may be not, you know, asking for help because you're not sure how other people are going to react to it. But the ironic joy is that I got a lot out of helping this guy. I got a lot out of helping my friend with the flashlight. It did a lot for me. So you don't realize when you ask for help, you're not just helping yourself. You're actually helping other people to be their best, you know?
Right. And to answer the call. It feels good to answer the call. It's something that's innate, and it's something that we all have inside of us, is the innate ability, but also the desire to help others. And you're never beyond or above asking for help, is kind of how I would close out my thoughts on this whole topic today.
Right. Well, it's a good stopping point then, man. We've done the full hour of the broadcast, and let's wrap it up with that. It seems like a good spot for me, man. Why don't you want to do the whole thing that you do at the end there?
Do the spiel that you do.
Yeah, the things that you do.
Know, we are. Hey, man, our subscriptions are going up. We love it. We love you know, if you enjoy the show, please subscribe.
Check it.
You can smash that bell logo, and it'll give you a notification of when we've uploaded another episode. As usual, please, if you're interested in a lot of the things that Dylan said, he has a huge archive of articles at wakingtimes.com that you can peruse and browse and read and gain more knowledge on all kinds of interesting topics. And you can find me at journeytoinnersage.com, and I also have a book called Cosmic Wizard, A Journey from Outer Rage to Inner Sage, is available at Barnes & Noble, available at Amazon, and you can buy yourself a Kindle version. So, yeah, man, check us out.
It is an excellent book. I think it's time for me to reread it. I've read it once. It was a page turner for me. It took me about like a day and a half to like read it all. I was like, cool. That was great. So I'm going to have to read it again. So check it out. But thank you for tuning in, people. Jeff, always a pleasure. And we'll get this episode posted and get on to another one. And if anybody has any feedback or any topics or anything they'd like us to talk about, we'd love to hear it. Peace out.
And if you're out there and you need help, don't be afraid to ask.
Whoa. Well, you just tied it all together there, my friend. All right, peace out, people. Until next time.
Ciao.
You've been listening to Redesigning Reality with Jeff Anthony and Dylan Charles.
Tukaboya mokabodi.